There we go. So hope you had a good week.
Yeah, it's pretty fair.
You guys didn't get rained out that other day?
It's raining. Rained yesterday. Raining today again. Yeah. Next few
Yeah.
days, it'll be the end of April showers and maybe better weather in May. Hopefully,
Yeah.
get back to our warm temperatures we had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Seriously, that was our summer. It
That was pretty nice.
yeah, this weekend, kicking myself, we could have gone camping this weekend. The weather was really nice up here.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, would have been decent.
Just enough to bring out the bugs.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. I think about that. Yeah. That'd be interesting. Uh Last year I have a picture of my ankle that I took, and it just scarred basically from the mosquito bites I took over the summer
Oh no.
from camping. Yeah, but totally worth it, right? I mean, they go away eventually and then you're fine, but at the time I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, swollen up and itchy. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And the kids basically got it's funny, my kids got all bit up as well, but it didn't bother them that much. The I guess you're more resilient when you're a kid, or you just don't care,
Yeah, probably.
probably. So anyway, last time we left off, we were talking about you growing up, and there's been some developments actually. Jan, I don't know if you saw that email or not. Jan managed, or a friend of Jan managed to dig up an audio file of Ron Heale, Grandpa, talking on the CBC.
Yeah,
Did you
that
get a,
was one of the
that
Sudbury
was
radio.
Yeah,
The
1983.
Sudbury radio station.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was kind of
Inco used to do that. It used to be called Memories of Music.
yes, that's the program.
That's the program. Yeah, and
Yep,
that's yeah. My dad was on that, and Beth's father was on that
yep.
earlier, quite a
I
bit
didn't
earlier.
know Grandpa Charlie was went overseas to serve in World War One.
He did.
Yeah, I did not know that.
He did.
That
But
was interesting.
apparently he came down with I forget some influenza or something.
Yeah.
So they sent him home.
Ah,
He never got to fight.
never got to fight, eh?
No,
That's that's interesting.
a lot of them became sick from different things, probably bad water stuff. Who knows?
Oh,
Bad
geez, I
food,
bet. I bet.
you know.
There's a if you're into history, there's a YouTube channel that I follow called Hardcore History by Dan Carlin, and he's got a really amazing series on World War One. It's probably 10 hours long,
Oh brother.
spread out over six videos, probably more like 12 hours. And it is just an incredible start to finish account, basically, of World War One. I
Hmm.
mean, he reads basically from soldiers' letters and all this other stuff. And I mean, the video series changes you after you're done listening to that kind of thing. It is just incredible.
All right.
The stuff that he pulls out basically from the memoirs and the stories. And yeah, it was an interesting war, man. It was not fun. It's kind of
No,
understandable why France surrendered in World War Two as fast as they did. You're talking about basically millions of their men having basically been butchered in World War One. Not even a generation goes by. World War Two hits, and I mean they're from a psyche standpoint, they were probably not in any mood whatsoever to go through that again.
no,
You know, yeah.
no. That's true. That's very
Nobody
true.
nobody talks about that, but it's understandable, really
Yeah.
understandable.
Well, the Russians are picking up where the Germans left off.
Yeah, well, we'll see where that goes. So the
Yeah.
last time we left off, we were talking basically about your childhood. I wanted to ask you some other, I got some follow-up questions basically. Did you have any best friends in high school? You must have.
Best friends in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had two or three of them. They came and went depending on the grades we were in.
Yeah.
One of them was Bob Harcourt. He lived just down the hill from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's Hugh Guthrie and Harry Hawkins and oh dear, I'm not sure how many others. They were the three ones I chummed around the best.
Yeah. Did you get into trouble with those guys?
Jim Bertulli. We my dad and Jim's father were best friends. In fact, Jim Bertulli's father saved my father's life. They went hunting up across Lady McDonald Lake, just north of Copper Cliff.
Hmm.
And getting out of the canoe, my dad grabbed his shotgun by the barrel, and it went off.
Ah, that's the
Bloody,
story. Yeah.
bloody thing was loaded,
Whoops.
and it took the bottom of his arm off. So anyway, we got him dragged back in the boat and across the lake and down to the Copper Cliff Hospital and got him patched up. And to the day he died, he still had BBs from that shotgun in his shotgun shell in his
Yeah.
arm. You can see them.
Oh yeah.
Lead,
I remember
lead.
he had two fingers clenched closed all the time,
Yes,
because they couldn't repair the nerves
yes.
on the tendons, which is kind of interesting. I remember that story. That was an interesting story. I mean, he was very yeah, he was very adamant basically about gun safety.
Yes. Anyway, he got rid of that gun. It had hammers on it, like external hammers.
Oh
And
geez.
one of the hammers caught and fired the gun. Why it was loaded, I have no idea.
Hmm.
Not supposed to travel in a vehicle, boat, motorboat, canoe, car, with a loaded firearm.
Nope.
That's against the law.
Yep. Well,
Anyway,
some
that's what
accidents
happens.
happen.
People get careless, and that's what they pay for.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, he's lucky he still had use of that hand or that arm.
I can
Could have been
imagine. Yeah,
worse. Could have been a lot worse.
could have
Could have
been.
got him in the side there and blew his side out, and he wouldn't be around to tell the tale.
No kidding. Eh? How old was he when that happened? Do you know?
Oh dear, I don't know. I'd say in his teens, late teens, maybe.
Oh, okay, so this is before your time.
I really don't know for sure.
Okay, so this is before your time. That's interesting. So did you get into any capers basically with your buddies in high school?
To get in any
Get into
what?
any trouble or any that sort of thing when you're in high
Trouble?
school with your?
No. We were always well behaved in high school. In Coppercliff, it is such a small town. You could not get away with anything, Andre. Everybody knew what you were doing,
Yeah,
including the local constabulary. They were employed by Inco. They had an office downtown. There were only 3 or 4 of them.
yeah.
Uh, they were around patrolling, and you didn't want to get try anything too outrageous because they would be after you.
Yeah. Too outrageous, but I mean,
Yes, I remember one time my friend, which one was it now? Cliff Street friend Alan Lane. His father died in 1958, so then they had to move away so his mother could get a teaching job in Toronto.
hmm.
So anyway, never saw him again. He and I had wagons. We used to go up at the top of the hill behind my dad's house and ride our wagons down the hill.
Yeah.
And by the time we got down to the bottom of the hill, we were going pretty fast. There were no brakes on those things.
No,
So we were lucky somebody didn't pull out of a side street and
just nail you.
clobber us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Anyway,
they've turned them into skateboards now.
Well, yeah, skateboard. Anyway, somebody reported us, and the local constabulary showed up in their black nondescript Ford car, loaded us in, and brought us home.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that again.
What did your dad have to say about that?
Very, very much to say. Very much to say. So anyway, we didn't do that again.
Yeah. So I noticed last time we were talking, you seem to be really you had a really good command of dates. Were you good at history when you were in high school?
Don't know if I was terribly good at it, but I can remember lots of things. Well, especially things that happened in Coppercliff and in our family.
Yeah.
My dad was very good at dates. He could, if you listen to his story, he's got lots of dates and things that he remembers. And there's been various publications written about the history of Coppercliff. I got a couple of them here.
You do, eh?
And he's got the notes in one of them,
Yeah.
correcting some of the events that happened there,
Yeah.
as far as dates and things. Anyway, it was quite interesting.
What about books when you were growing up? Did you have any books that you like to read?
Oh yeah, I read almost every Hardy Boy book that was in print at that point in time.
Oh yeah, the Hardy Boys.
The first, I still got a bunch of them here. Hardy Boys Tower Treasure was the first one I read.
Yeah.
And the author, Franklin W. Dixon, his real name was Leslie McFarland.
Hmm.
And he worked for Sudbury Star. He was a reporter for the Sudbury Star.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
He rented a cabin on Lake Ramsey on an island, and that's where he wrote Tower Treasure.
Huh.
1927. I got a paper clip about his death, and it goes on to say about his life and doing the series of Hardy Boys.
When how old were you when you read that book, roughly?
Oh, I'd be, I don't know, 10 or 12 maybe,
Okay.
around that time. I was still in public school,
Yep.
so probably grade 5, grade 6.
I gotta see if I can dig it up for my for Felix. We've got him reading Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, well, Hardy
It's a
Boys are pretty good. Actually, when I was laid up with my recovering from my knee surgery,
yeah.
I got the neighbor to come in down to my library here and bring up the Hardy Boys books, and I haven't read them for years and years. Anyway, I read them all.
Yeah.
While I was in bed, recuperating from my surgery.
Do they still hold up?
Plus a lot of other books that I have here, but I just never read.
Huh.
So that was pretty good. I had a good time to do that. I haven't read anything since.
Do they those books still hold up today?
Oh yeah,
They do, eh?
yeah.
Right.
They still have them. I don't know if they're well, Amazon may have them. I really haven't gone looking for any, but secondhand stores and antique shops, they always have series of these things.
Yeah.
A bunch of them, and that's where I got a whole bunch of mine. Some of them original. I think the Tower Treasure, I got an original copy of it. Some of them are newer and more
You should hang on to that, or
Oh yeah,
pass it down anyway if it's an original.
Yeah, they're in my library here.
Did you ever
turn the camera here? You can see my library over in the corner.
Nice.
I don't see that or not.
That's respectable.
Yeah, Hardy Boys are down at the bottom.
Excellent.
Second shelf up.
Nice.
Anyway, it's got a lot of stuff, lots of books about Muskoka there and Sudbury. Lots of history books about Sudbury.
Did you ever think about meeting the author, like seek him out at all, or did you know he was in Sudbury?
No, I had no idea he was in Sudbury. That he died. You're not sure just when he died. Just hang on a sec. I'll go and get the book and see.
All right.
Which one is it? We don't know. There it is.
What's up?
Let's see. When did he die?
Are you on the tablet or on a your PC?
Oh, the tablet.
Oh, that's interesting. The tablet's following you around.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, gee. Ryan McFarland. Leslie McFarland. They're not going to tell us? Surely. Oh, come on. Got to be somewhere. Has to be somewhere. When he died?
We can probably Google that. Ryan McFarland, Hardy Boys. Let's see who's faster on that one.
Well, Sudbury Star, July 20th, 1998 is when this story came out. So yeah. I would say this is pretty much it. I guess around that time would be when he died. None of these.
Leslie McFarland.
Yes, McFarland.
According to.
Anyway, surely we could find Google that.
1977. 74 years old.
77. Okay, there you go.
Born 1902, Carlton Place.
Okay.
Pen name Franklin Dixon. Carolyn Keene. That's interesting.
Anyway,
Oh,
that's his story.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I read those books. Almost well, anyone that the library in Coppercliff had, they probably didn't have the whole series, but
Yeah.
and other people probably had them out reading them. So I read them when I was able to.
So did question going back to Grandpa Charlie. Now he was in and out of the house, you said, seasonally,
Yes,
right? Did he ever do any stuff with you guys?
not well. Not terribly much. We used to like go for walks and stuff when I was younger. He
Yeah.
liked to walk. So we would walk down in the park and go around. And he had his friends there that he grew up with and had worked with. So we stop and chat to them. And I remember one time he took me up. There's above the post office in Coppercliff. There was a pool hall, and kids weren't allowed in the pool hall, but he took me up there anyway to
Ha,
visit
nice.
to visit his cronies. And they didn't want kids up there playing pool.
No way.
Anyway, and then I remember he and I stayed up at Windy Lake for a week or so,
Yeah.
and we did a bunch of stuff there, mostly row around in the boat. Like I was too small to run the motor, and probably couldn't run it anyway.
Okay.
And it was an old vintage 1930s outboard motor that took a bit of skill to run. Anyway, we rode around the boat and we tried a bit of fishing off the dock and stuff like that.
Okay.
And at the end of the week, my parents came up to fetch us back to Coppercliff. And my mother looked at me and she said she hardly recognized me. I was so filthy. Hadn't had a bath for a whole week. just totally brown. So anyway, I got home and first thing I had to have a bath and get some clean clothes on. I had the same clothes on all week.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Nice.
oh boy. Anyway, we spent some time together and mostly, I guess he told us stories of the old country, and we had toast and jam for breakfast and tea and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he cooked up stuff pretty well. We ate fairly well.
Did you guys hunt at all while you were up there?
No,
No
no,
way.
we didn't do anything up there.
Was
No,
he a hunter?
no,
No. Okay.
no, he wasn't a hunter. No,
He wasn't a hunter, eh?
no, he wasn't a hunter. He was a gardener. He liked to garden.
Yeah.
He always had a garden at the back of Cliff Street.
Okay.
My dad, when he got too old to do it, my dad picked up the garden skills, and I remember digging the garden and raking the garden and weeding the garden, which I just hated doing that, weeding it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we did get some stuff out of it, not terribly much, because the soil really wasn't that good.
No way.
But I remember they used to put fertilizer on it, like, cow manure, and that was kind of a stinky job. Anyway, things grew better when you got that stuff on there and got the soil riched up a bit.
Good old
But
nitrogen
the soil in Coppercliff was pretty acidic from the
from
sulfur in the air.
yeah.
And especially when it rained, the sulfur would come out as sulfuric acid and kill everything in sight.
That must have had an odor.
Like it would take the leaves off the trees.
Yeah.
And then they'd have to try and grow back again. Eventually the trees would die.
What year was the big stack built in?
Big stack was started in about 69, I guess.
Okay. How old were you at that point?
Finished 69, 65, 24.
Okay.
24 and 70, 72, I think it was finished.
Okay.
And
that cleaned up the town quite a bit.
well, not that much.
No.
Because what happened, they had a lot of good draft going up that thing, and induced draft, because they had gas fired burners underneath the stack to induce the draft up there. So it sucked up a lot of garbage from the smelter and up into the air. And then on humid days, the stuff would come right back down again and just land everywhere all over the town. And like on the cement, you'd see these brown blotches everywhere. And if you left your car parked outside, it would land on the car, and being acidic, they would make blotches all over the paint. They just ruined the paint. So Inco had a big program there for a while of repainting cars.
Huh, I didn't know that.
It was just unbelievable. So
I didn't know that.
so when we first got married, we lived in the basement of Beth's parents' house, which was a new house they had built. So we built a little apartment down there, and we're there for about 4 years. And at that time, we built a garage in the backyard so we could put the cars inside,
Huh.
keep them out of the acid rain. Yeah, that went on for quite a while, and I forget what they did to eliminate that problem, but it was really widespread, and there were lots of claims
I bet.
against the company for the acid rain, big blotches all over the place. They were everywhere. Anyway,
Let's swing to
that's
the it's interesting, basically the building stuff. Where did you I get the impression basically like grandpa picked up hunting from somewhere, your dad. And then again the
well,
boating.
all his buddies
His,
hunted, and like
his buddy, yeah.
what they did as teenagers, they went hunting over the hills behind Copper Cliff and
Yep.
wherever they could, and then they got together, and the people he worked with, were hunters, so they go
Yep.
down to Lake Nipissing and go hunting down there. And a few times we went up to Whitewater Lake by Azilda, which you think was a good lake for hunting, but really not much. It wasn't really a flyway for the ducks, so
Okay.
we didn't see too many ducks up there. A few, not too many.
And then the boating he also I guess he picked up from other people at some point. Or
Well, from time at Windy Lake with the Kulpinens, with
yeah.
Toivo Kulpinen. He was a great friend of Toivo's. He was that was his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they had a cottage up there from the 1940s. So they spent a lot of time up there in the early years, across the lake from where Grandpa's cottage is. And they had an old, I guess it was a cedar strip, an inboard motor, a little one-cylinder inboard motor, and used that to get around. And they had a fair-sized canoe, maybe a 17 or 18-foot canoe, big, heavy canoe. It'd take 4 men to lift the thing.
Oh, jeez.
But you could pack about 10 people in it. But anyway, and that's what they did. They spent a lot of time up there and at the cottage, and then going down to the beach where the provincial park is now. There was nothing there. It was just no man's land.
Yeah.
So anybody could go there. Just park your boat on the beach and set up, make a fire, and cook your hot dogs or whatever you had. If you caught a fish, you could cook your fish, and just spend the day at the beach.
We stayed at that park last summer.
Camping. Oh, did you?
Yeah, we did. Went up there camping, and it was really nice actually. Marie said probably the nicest park that we'd been to. We'd been to all the parks down around here, and then that one was the furthest out.
It's not very busy up there. In the 60s, that beach was very busy with the local people, but that phenomenon disappeared.
Well, go ahead.
They had the public access. The marina was wide open, so people could bring their boats, and there was a steady parade of boats past Grandpa's place, going down to the beach for the day and then coming back later in the evening. And but that's all gone now. Hardly see anybody at the park. We go by there in the pontoon boat, and you can count maybe 3 or 4 campsites. That's it.
Yeah, it wasn't. It seemed pretty busy. Maybe it's a seasonal thing, depending on the month.
I don't know. On the best of days, it's never terribly busy there. Like July 1st used to be a big deal.
Well,
down camping there, and the Elks Club, which was next to it, had a big banquet hall. They always had a big Elks Club day there. Lots of food and drinks and stuff. And the Elks community partied there on July the 1st.
So when the camp was built, Grandpa had some help basically from his brothers, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or his brother-in-law?
Various people helped. Different friends that he worked with helped them, and Harold, his brother Harold,
right.
Ron was when the big camp was built. Ron was about 16, 17, so he was.
So you were 13
doing that. I was 10 when the big camp was built. I was 1955.
Okay, all right. Were you there for that, or was it just something they were heading off to do? And
I was there for that, yes.
okay,
Well, not for all of it, but for a
okay,
good part of it, I was there, and we lived in the little cabin that was just down below the porch that was there,
mm-hmm,
and leaning up against the big, well, abutting the big rock. That's not the one down by the water, but the next one up.
yeah.
And it was built across in front there, 10 or 8 by 12 cabin, just a one room cabin.
How many years did you use the little cabin?
Probably 4 years. It was built in 1952.
Okay,
My dad bought the property in 1952 from the Crown, the Department of Lands and Forests. It used to be
okay,
called. Now it's the Ministry of the Environment or whatever.
right.
Anyway, he bought that property 100 feet for 25 cents a foot.
Nice.
Nice. Tell us all about it. How cheap that was. He should have
Yeah.
bought 200 feet.
There was no
Anyway,
road, but there was no road going in it.
oh no, no road
No.
at all. It was
Okay.
all water
Okay. So
until
that's
until the
reasonable in a way.
mid '60s. The
Yeah.
road and the hydro went in the mid '60s.
Okay.
Anyway, that yeah, that was all water access, as were many of the properties on the lake.
So
And
do you know if he had basically a vision for it in terms of starting off with the little cabin, then moving up to the bigger cabin?
well,
Or was that just
his vision was limited by what he could afford.
fair enough?
He
Okay.
didn't have a lot of money, so he had scrounged enough money to build this little cabin, which was one of the prerequisites of buying the property. Within a year, you had to put up a cabin worth $100.
Okay.
So to claim your title to the property.
Okay.
So that's what he did. He scrounged up the money and got some old lumber, and it was actually lumber from the Mississauga Forest Reserve up by Spanish. They had a forest fire go through there in the late 40s,
Uh-huh.
and the trees that were standing became bug infested, and they were just eating holes in the wood. So I guess the Crown, got timber guys in there, cut the trees down, and milled them at a sawmill, made lumber out of them. But the boards were fairly sturdy boards. They weren't rotten, but
Hmm.
they were all full of holes.
Right from the
So
bugs.
from the bugs, yeah. So they just built the cabin out of these boards, and you could see in the morning the sun would stream through the holes in the wall, and at night the black flies and mosquitoes would find their way through the holes because
Jeez.
it was warmer inside than outside, and they would eat us alive inside.
Yeah.
So no, that was terrible. But
Yeah.
anyway, once the big cabin was made with better quality wood, so it was pretty bug tight, and it had screens on the windows and stuff like that. So it was much more comfortable staying in there. Although I remember it being very hot there some days because that was all the trees around there were cut down to build the place,
Yeah.
and there was really no shade. And right now there's quite a bit of shade, so it's not as hot inside the place. But I remember it being very hot, and
Hmm.
some nights you just sleep on top of the blankets and the windows open, and praying that the wind would come up and cool the place down.
Yeah.
It was just screaming hot up in there, and you had nowhere to go.
Where did
You
he get the
didn't want to.
materials for
You
the
didn't.
larger cabin, for the larger cottage?
Well, from a local lumber
Yeah.
place in Sudbury. I don't know just where.
So it wasn't a fire sale.
No, oh no,
No.
they were much better quality
Yeah.
materials.
I heard he had to, well, obviously if there's no road, would have brought that stuff over by boat, right?
Everything came by boat. Yeah, they
Yeah.
used to raft up two boats side by each, and lay the longer planks across them, and the shorter ones just pile them up on top
Yeah.
until they have a good load, and then they tow that with another boat
So
over
three
to
boats. Okay.
the property, and tie them to the shore, and like there was no dock, tie them
Yeah.
to the shore, and unload them, go back and get some more. So they
So
had three or four guys doing that.
so is that where you learned basically your I guess your building skills from participating in that?
Well, not only that, but previous to that, at home on Cliff Street, we did lots of renovations there.
Yeah.
There was always something to do there because it was quite an old house. It was built in 1913.
Right.
And in the 1930s, it was moved up to Cliff Street. There used to be a street behind the Coppercliff Club, the Inco's Coppercliff Club on the edge of the park. And they wanted to get the houses off that street. So most of the houses were moved. They built Cliff Street and moved the houses up there.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm pretty sure that's when great grandpa Heale bought that house and had it moved up there. But anyway, that was an old house. It always needed repairs and upgrading. Like we did all kinds of stuff there. I remember putting the hardwood floors in. It had good solid floors, but had basic just a covering on them like a vinyl linoleum type thing, and that would wear out. So anyway, nothing would have it, but we had to have hardwood floors. So Dad bought a bunch of hardwood, and we started fastening that stuff down. It's not like today where you got the pneumatic nailers. You just go along.
Oh no, you had to by hand, right?
We had to do every nail by hand, and they're like finishing nails, and they would bend, and we ended up having to drill a hole in the tongue of each board, drill a bunch of holes, series of holes, put nails in, and then nail them down.
Yeah.
And countersunk them in so you could fit the next board against it. That took forever to do that.
Yeah.
We were nailing boards forever. And probably a couple of years it took to do the living room and the dining room and the hallway. Unbelievable. But it looked really nice when we got it done and then got it sanded and finished with a nice varnish, I guess. It really, really looked nice. But then in the 70s, nothing would have it, but they had to have carpet. So they put shag carpet down on top of the hardwood.
Oh, man, I didn't know that. Huh.
Oh, and Granny moved out to her senior's residence. We took up and we were going to sell the house. I took up the carpet, got rid of it. Had the floors sanded and refinished. They looked really nice again.
Yeah.
So and that helped sell the house.
No doubt.
Person buying the house there was really happy with the floors.
I bet.
Because the carpet was all shaggy and dirty and full of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
like we didn't have good vacuums like you have now. Like I got one of the Dyson vacuums here. We do for the little bit of carpet we have here, and it's amazing how much stuff that thing picks up. Wow.
I've got a Dyson too, and I've beat the crap out of it. Now it's in the garage. But yeah, it was really good. Basically, back when I had 2 cats and a dog.
Yeah,
the Dyson kept all of that stuff under control. The hair, right? So you had the camp. So you were saying basically Ron was around 17 or so.
Yeah.
Right, and then that would have put you 4 years under that.
No, I was 6 years. Well, he would be 16. I was 10 in 1955, and he was 16.
Okay,
so he was around and about to help to work on that.
Yeah, and then when did he move out?
Pardon me?
When did Ron move out?
Oh,
roughly?
I don't know. When he was 19, he went to university in Kingston. I know that.
Okay.
Well, after 19, the fall he was 19. He moved out and stayed with Aunt Una in Kingston and went to school there for 1 year. And decided he didn't like
engineering.
Decided he didn't like that, so he came back to Sudbury and he took an apprenticeship at an accounting firm.
Yeah,
and did a 4-year apprenticeship there and became a chartered accountant and did very well for himself.
So you got to enjoy all the best years, basically, of the of Windy Lake growing up, in that sense.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, they were pretty good years. They're still pretty good years when we can get there. We don't get there that often.
Yeah.
But when we're there, it's still pretty nice. Nice spot. Grandpa did well to pick that spot.
He did.
You get nice morning sun most of the day. And it cools off in the evening, so you don't have that hot sun blazing down on you in the evening. So that, plus the sauna made a big difference when we got that built, because then we had a place to get washed and cleaned up.
Well, yeah, so you would have built that. There would have been no fire codes back in the day preventing you from building it that close to the shore, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, there was it wasn't really a fire code. It was just the building code. uh, oh, I don't know where that came from. Might have come from Department of Lands and Forests, or Ministry of Natural Resources, as it became to be known.
Uh-huh.
Uh, they they mandated that uh, buildings, cottages, and buildings had to be 66 feet from the waterfront,
Right.
like new builds.
Yeah.
These were all built before that
Yeah. So they're grandfathered.
figure, so they were all grandfathered in. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's
if
right.
anything ever happened to that building, though, you wouldn't be
Otherwise
able
that
to. Sorry. So if
otherwise all
anything,
those buildings would be up on top of the hill, and what's the fun of that?
no, I exactly. So if anything ever happened to that building, you wouldn't be able to rebuild it.
No, I don't know about that. We have to try and save one wall.
Oh, okay, okay. So as long as
If,
there's
if
something
you can,
standing.
if there's something still standing that you can build onto, you can rebuild.
Okay.
But if it's completely gone, you may have a problem with that.
Did you ever have any of your high school friends or any of that sort of thing up to the to Windy Lake with you?
Not me. Ron did. He had several events up there with all his buddies. He had lots of buddies in high school. They all chummed around.
Uh-huh.
They went up there fishing and partying. I had my one friend from Cliff Street. I had him up for a few days. That's the only person that I had up there.
Yeah.
Your mom had some friends up there, off and on.
Uh-huh.
Basically, not by ourselves. Our parents were there. The only time I was up there by myself was with my grandpa, Grandpa Charlie.
Okay.
And the rest of the time, we just did our own thing.
So
And
was the
things
cottage
they
life
had there.
common for the other kids that you knew, or were you guys kind of unique in that sense, having Windy Lake?
Oh no, like everybody in Coppercliff had a cottage, so all the
Yeah.
kids disappeared for the summer.
Huh.
I remember a couple of summers I had a paper route, so I kind of had to stick around town, and I was the only kid in town.
Yeah.
When I wasn't doing my papers, I'd on chores around the house, I'd go down and play golf around the golf course they had in the park. They had a little 9-hole golf course, so I just go down and play golf with myself
Huh.
because everybody else was gone to their cottage.
Okay.
So anyway, and in September, everybody came home. Coppercliff
Nice.
became alive again. It was
Hey,
deadly.
sorry, I got a spin-off question for you. And I was just thinking about this the other day. Um, famous person grew up in Coppercliff, Alex Trebek from Jeopardy, the TV
Yeah,
show
he did.
Jeopardy.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
You didn't know that? I guess you didn't know him.
No.
Okay. I was gonna ask, basically. He apparently he grew up in Coppercliff, Alex Trebek, born and raised, I think.
Really?
Yeah. And he had passed away a few years ago.
Yes.
And yeah, I was always I've always meant to ask you guys whether or not you guys knew anything about him.
No, never
No,
knew
eh?
that.
Oh,
No,
jeez, there you go.
isn't that amazing?
His house, I think his house actually became kind of a tourist attraction.
Really?
Yeah,
Gee, I don't remember anything about that, Andre.
no kidding, eh? Wow.
No,
You'd
absolutely
figure a
nothing.
small town like that, you would run into each other at some point, you know?
One would think so.
Yeah, I would think so. Exactly. Maybe he's lying. Who knows?
I'll
Anyhow,
have to Google that, look that up. I
yeah.
have no idea.
Okay, well, yeah, look it up. He's born and raised from Coppercliff. Another funny Coppercliff story, or fact anyway. You ever heard of the movie Men with Brooms?
Yes,
Yeah, that was
yes.
filmed in Coppercliff.
Part of that was filmed in Coppercliff. Yeah,
Yeah,
up in Little Italy. Yes.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
very interesting.
there's a shot of the Italian club in that on
There's
Craig Street.
Well, there's
In
also
that,
another shot at the beginning of the show where they show the town, and it's actually a shot of your house. You could actually see basically Grandpa, the house that you guys grew up in the
really?
shot. Yeah, at the beginning of the
Oh,
movie.
I'll have, oh, I'll have
It's
to
it's
have
it's
to.
a second and a half, but if you pause, it's like, oh yeah, there's Cliff Street. Look at that.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
I know. I was like, it was very interesting watching
Yeah,
that movie.
yeah. I remember I got it was on TV, and I didn't see it from the start. I just saw part of it. But the
Yep,
part I saw, it's like I recognized Little Italy and the Italian club.
yep.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
a good movie.
that's cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
That is very cool. So in high school, you're going through high school, right? And you got your buddies and all that sort of stuff, and you're up at Windy Lake. Did your hobbies change? You were talking about your bike,
In high
fixing.
school, well, Bob Harcourt and I, when we got together, we started flying model airplanes, the ones
Oh,
with the strings attached, as you go around in circles around you.
yeah, yeah.
So we started out with small ones, and then we both built bigger ones,
Yep.
and that went on for I don't know. Then we just started high school, so I'd be maybe 13 or so. I remember going after school into Sudbury,
Yeah.
across from the bus depot in Sudbury. There was a hobby shop. We used to go
Yeah.
there and get supplies.
Okay.
Bought my first gas powered aircraft there, a little training plane, and interesting. It was like a plastic model, and the wings were held on with elastic bands.
Yeah.
So when it crashed, it just flew apart. It didn't break.
Nice.
So that was interesting. So we flew those around down in the park there quite a bit, and then the big ones they took a little bit more skill. They were pretty powerful.
So they had little gas-powered motors in them?
Yeah,
Okay. I've seen the ones with the gas-powered motors and the ones that had the winding elastic band propeller.
oh, right. Now they're all electric. Like they all got drones
Yeah.
now.
So for the
Like
gas-powered ones, where did you get the gas? Where did you get the gas for the gas-powered ones?
well, down at the hobby shop, it
The
was
hobby shop?
because they ran on a glow plug. So what you had to do is put gas in the tank,
Yep.
and you hook up a battery to the glow plug, like a spark plug on top of the cylinder. It
Yep.
was called a glow plug, and when you hook up a battery, it would glow hot. There was an element in there would glow hot,
Yeah.
and then you'd flip the propeller over a few times to suck some gas in, and then give it a good flip and get
Okay.
it started. Adjust. There's a needle valve there to adjust the speed, getting it at optimum speed,
Yeah.
and then take the battery off, and the fuel would cause the glow plug to keep glowing.
Huh.
So once you took the battery off, it would just keep glowing because the engine's running, and but they were quite noisy. There were
Yeah.
no mufflers on these things, so they were very noisy.
Okay.
My big one had a 4-foot wingspan. It was a big plane. I bought it, imported it from New York, America's Hobby Shop in New York City. I imported that kit, which I built during high school. Instead of doing homework, I built my plane. So that wasn't a good idea. Anyway, I flew that. I still got the motor for that. It's a 0.35 cubic inch engine with a 10-inch propeller, and it develops 3/5 of a horsepower. Runs at 12,000 RPM. That thing, I learned the hard way how to start that thing. It started it basically the same as the small ones, but I ended up with a 1-inch square piece of wood, which I used to flip the propeller over.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you flip over the propeller, it would kick, and it would chop your finger pretty bad.
Ouch.
So I used to start the engine with a stick. and when it got going, it did really pulled pretty hard. But
You get out of the way at that point.
Yeah, somebody had to hold that thing down until you got your lines reeled out and got ready to go, and then they let go of the plane, and it took off, and boy, that thing would go. It had about 30 feet of line out, and it would go in about a 60-foot circle, and I'm telling you, it went and went and went. And my problem is I put a big fuel tank in the thing, so it would go for a long time.
Okay.
It would go for 7 or 8 minutes.
So you couldn't reel it in. You had to wait for it to run out of fuel.
Yeah, wait for it to run out of fuel,
that's
and
hilarious.
Down for a landing.
Huh.
Oh yeah, that was a big aircraft. Actually, I had it down here. I've had it for a couple of years ago. I broke it up because I wasn't flying it. I wasn't going to fly it anymore. No. I broke it up and sent it to the dump. But anyway, good memories of that. I got a bunch of pictures of it, and so we did that for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And then we ended up, we all got our driver's licenses, and we were all able to start driving cars. So we'd go out Friday night into Sudbury, drive around, and ended up at the A&W, get a burger and root beer. Then we go over to the go-kart track. We race go-karts. We used to do that almost every week in the spring and the fall.
Yeah.
Summertime, we didn't do that because there was nobody around.
They're all at the cottages.
Everybody's at the cottage.
Everybody's at the cottages.
Yeah.
did you play any sports in high school?
No, not high school sports.
No,
No, we used to have a skating rink behind the house, and
right.
we played shinny on there. Get just the neighborhood kids from down below the hill. They come up and we get a little shinny game going. So
Yeah.
we did quite a bit of that. But I didn't play any organized sports in high school. No.
No. The I imagine your school did do sports though. Your high school did do sports.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
did all kinds of sports. You know, we
Did
had a
you
good football team and a real good hockey team. We cleaned up almost every year with our hockey team. We had a
yeah,
real good coach. The shop teacher was the coach,
yeah.
and he was a good coach. Boy, pretty clever. And the team was just picked from kids who went to the school, and changed from time to time as
Hmm.
kids moved on to other things. But anyway, it was always a good team.
There's a there's a movie, I don't know if you've seen it or not. There's a movie out there called American Graffiti. Are you familiar
Yes,
with it?
yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
Yeah, the cars in that one are I mean that's basically their practically the star of the movie.
yeah,
The
yeah. Well,
cars and
they
that sort of thing, right?
used to drive around, just cruise around, and taunt each other at the stoplights there. See who's gonna get across the intersection first. We
Yeah,
never did that. Our cars weren't strong. Like our grandpa's car was only a 6 cylinder, for crying out
yeah.
loud. Like not much power for doing that.
No kidding,
So
eh?
didn't try too much of that. No.
No. So what was the dating what was it like basically back in those days in terms of dating and that sort of thing? Meeting girls and that sort of thing.
I didn't
High school.
really date any girls in high school.
No?
No, didn't do any dating until I got to university.
Yeah. Is that where you met Beth?
No, I met her in public school in kindergarten.
In kindergarten. Okay.
Kindergarten, yeah, we went
Okay.
through school together pretty
Okay.
well. She went off to university, and I went up to Kirkland Lake to technical college.
Okay.
And during the summer, one summer, we got together, and here we are, 54 years later.
So you guys weren't close basically growing up, or you just sort of knew each other like incidentally kind of each other,
Just
like
from
type of thing?
just from school and around the town.
Okay. All right. So when did it turn into just knowing from how did it go from there's a story here, obviously. How did it go from knowing each other to actually going out?
Let me see. Well, I went to Toronto to school, didn't like that, so I went to Kirkland Lake. While I was in Toronto, my cousin in Barrie here,
Yeah.
I told him I was looking for a car, a used car. So he found a Volkswagen here, which is in pretty good shape, only 4 years old,
Yeah.
pretty good shape. So I bought it and got my own insurance and had it down in Toronto. Then brought it up to Coppercliff and left it there because it really wasn't much place to park it in Toronto.
No.
So I brought it up to Sudbury, just left it there. Then in the summertime, I used it. Yeah, I worked at Inco,
Okay.
and I just used it. Uh, used to go over to between Coppercliff and Sudbury on the highway there. There was a deluxe drive-in. I don't know if you remember them or
I know
not.
the deluxe. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I used to go stop at the deluxe drive-in for a burger and a shake every once in a while. And Beth was working there as a car hop,
Uh-huh.
so we got to see each other there. And then one day I just asked her if she wanted to go out to a movie, and she said yes. Away we went. So
Okay.
I think that we went to see Ben-Hur.
And her.
Ben-Hur, and that movie went forever. It was about 4 hours long, that movie. Anyway, so
Did
that
you
was the
take her
start
out for
of
dinner after that, or was it just basically a
no,
movie?
no,
No?
just movie. We got done too late. I had to go to work the next day.
Okay. All right.
Then
Where were you working at that point?
I was working at Inco
At
just for the
Inco?
summer as a
Okay.
student.
What were you studying at that time?
I was studying mechanical technology at Northern College in Kirkland Lake.
Yeah.
It's similar to engineering, but not quite as, as detailed as
Yeah.
engineering.
So you had a career path basically from that. You knew you were going into Inco, or did you think you would do anything else?
I really didn't give too much thought to career,
Uh-huh.
but I was interested in doing this, and I did well at it. I got good marks, a
Yeah.
lot better marks than I got in high school. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Like I just barely scraped through grade 13. I think some of the teachers felt sorry for me and gave me 50%. Anyway,
Was it basically you were not interested, or basically you're just,
yeah, I was
were you
just
having
doing
trouble with the subject matter?
other things.
Yeah.
Not really, really terribly interested in some of the stuff. I really like shop. I always did well in shop. I
Yeah.
always got high 90s,
Yeah.
99, 98 in shop. I always did quite well in shop, and shop teacher liked me and did gave me all kinds of extra projects to do,
Okay.
outside of school time.
Yeah.
So I used to actually at one time I had my own key to the shop. So I would go down there on the weekends and work in the shop all by myself, which
Wow.
probably wasn't a good idea. If I got caught in one of the machines, they'd find
Nobody
me
could
there.
help you.
They'd see me there Monday morning,
Jeez.
all wrapped around a lathe or something. But anyway, I used to do that. I did that for quite a while, a couple of years anyway,
Yeah.
and built all kinds of things for them.
So you went into university, and university was basically your calling. Like it was an interest in the program that.
Yeah, the program was, I was interested in all the mechanical stuff that they were teaching and did quite well at it. I
Okay.
graduated with honors, graduate.
Okay.
I never thought that would happen. It did.
Wow. I,
And
your parents must have been ecstatic about that.
I don't think they're terribly ecstatic. They're just happy that I was finally out of school and got a job and started earning some money.
No kidding. All right.
They're pretty happy about that part.
So what about your first apartment? Like when did you move out of when you moved out of the house, where did you go from there?
Well, I moved out of the house and got married, and we lived in the basement of Beth's parents' house in Coppercliff
Okay.
on
Okay.
the Diorite Street, the road going up to Little Italy. We were there
Okay.
for 4 years, built a little apartment there,
Okay. So I'm
finished
gonna
the
make sure.
basement basically, and
Okay.
we lived. Then we bought our house out in Walden on
Yeah.
Black Lake Road,
Yeah.
and we were there for 30 years.
So, timeline wise, I want to make sure I understand this right. A lot of people basically will start. You'll see a lot of these families will start while the mom and dad basically are still in university and just sort of finishing up. You waited until you finished university basically to get married, or did you get married while you
Yeah,
were still in
no,
university?
we were finished. We were both out and working.
Out and working, eh? Okay.
Working. So a year after we started working, we got married.
Yeah. Okay. Did it, I guess in terms of basically again, when you were working, did you ever have a point where you thought, okay, now I can do this, or that sort of thing? Like basically where you had an income coming in and you realized, okay, I can move out now and start doing my own thing with Beth? Like was there a discussion about that in terms of finances, or was it just basically more of an organic thing? We're both done school. It's time for us
No,
to,
it just
yeah,
it was just a time for a change. We had
yeah,
had enough of the apartment, and we wanted to get our own place and a little bit more freedom, I guess,
yeah.
to do what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And away we went. We bought the house and enjoyed it for 30 years. It was a pretty good house, actually.
Okay. How long after you bought the house, did the kids come along?
Well, Tim was born in 72, September
Uh-huh.
72. November 72, we bought the house.
Okay. Okay.
So
So he was on his way.
that was
That,
probably one reason. Tim was a couple of months old when we moved into the house.
yeah,
He was probably one of the reasons why we moved out.
that's a pretty good reason, I would
Yes.
say. You know,
Yeah.
okay. And then Chris I'm never clear on the age difference between the two of them. It's like 2 years,
Chris
one
was
year?
2 years. Yeah.
Two
Chris
years,
was
eh?
born
Okay.
in October of 74.
Okay. All right. So what was that like? Um, in terms of growing up around there and then basically working, raising the family. Um, what were your first thoughts back in those days in terms of transitioning to that?
I don't know if we had any thoughts or not. It was a
No?
lot of work. We
Yeah.
had all kinds of new things that we had to do. We had to keep the house going, pay taxes, and heat the place, and like maintain the house.
Yeah.
And we had, we were able to have friends over and entertain people, have
Mm-hmm.
dinner, had our parents over for dinner
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of stuff. And the kids grew up there. They had lots of friends, local friends, and they had different things they were doing.
Was
And
the was the Walden community tight knit? Like, did you have
it was
church?
not as
Not
tight knit as Coppercliff because it was more spread out.
okay.
Like we weren't like Lively was fairly tight knit, but we were outside of Lively.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our own little community outside of Lively,
Okay.
but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was as tight knit as Coppercliff.
Okay.
Although there were lots of kids there, and they all did things together.
Okay.
But
When did you? Let's back up a bit. Basically, when did you propose to Beth?
oh, I don't know. 60. We got married in 68, 67, around, I guess Christmas of 67.
Were you living in her parents' basement at that time?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Well,
67. Yeah,
okay.
because we didn't move out until 72.
Okay. How was the wedding at that point? Was it a big event, or did you
I
keep
don't
it
know. It was
small?
a modest event. It wasn't huge. It's mostly just family and relatives.
Okay.
Like we didn't have a great big event. It was at the church in Coppercliff, the Anglican church by the downtown Coppercliff, and then reception at the Coppercliff Club. It was just an afternoon reception. Like didn't have a big dinner, dance, and stuff.
Okay.
We just basically, I forget. We had sandwiches and hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that,
Okay.
and wasn't any big deal. The club was dry at that point in time, so there was no liquor involved.
Yeah.
So it was just a nice afternoon tea party, I guess,
Okay. Were
and
you
mostly relatives.
how long were you going out with her before you proposed?
I forget 66. I think summer 66 we started going out,
Okay.
and then December 67
That's not
I
bad.
proposed, and then we got married in 68, August of 68.
And that's when you basically moved into the place together? Or did you live
Yes.
together first a bit before you got married?
No, no, never, no,
No? Was
no.
that common or was that
After we were
uncommon?
married, we moved into the apartment.
Was it common or uncommon for couples to live together before they got married at that time?
I don't know how common it was, but I don't think that many people did it. It's pretty common now.
Yeah.
Live together and maybe never get married.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't think it was that common back then.
All
Most
right.
people got married and then lived together.
All right. So you're going out with her and it's going well. When did you decide, like, what made you decide that she was the one?
I don't know. It was just chance meeting, I guess, and
Yeah.
neither of us had any attachments, and neither had there's no friends left from high school, so they were all
Yeah.
gone doing their thing. So it was just us.
Right.
So I guess we decided, why not get together?
Well, you obviously liked each other.
Well, we've been together 54 years. We haven't split yet, Andre.
Well, there you go.
Actually, it's going to be 55 years this summer.
Huh. 55 years. That's crazy.
That's a long time.
Where did you propose to her? Was it an event? Did you
At
plan it
her, no, just at her house,
at her house? Yeah.
at her parents' house.
Okay. Did you make a big deal out of it, or was it like a
No, it
romantic
wasn't a
thing, or
big deal. It
no?
wasn't a big deal.
Or you were happy? Did you know the answer? Were you expecting a yes, or was it more of a you were taking a shot?
So I don't know if I was expecting or not expecting a yes. We just went, just we just did it, and it happened.
Yeah. At some point, I'm gonna talk to her about all of this. Get her version of the story.
Why would you have to talk to her? You don't
Uh,
think I'm telling the truth?
no, 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 no. She's probably gonna remember it differently, Terry. That's just anyhow. But that's interesting. Okay, so you got Tim and Chris, and you guys are living in the family. And what's interesting when I was growing up was how close everybody was. I mean, you had my mom and us over, and we would basically all get together basically for the family dinners and all that kind of stuff. Um, and it sounds like that was kind of different from when you were growing up. Like your family get-togethers, when we talked about it, you didn't. It sounded like they happened, but not as I guess not as what's the word I want to use basically. Um,
Well, there weren't as many people around. Like my dad had his brother in town,
yeah,
and basically that's it.
yeah,
Like he had a sister in Kingston, a sister in Montreal,
yeah.
and uh, and that was it. Like when uh, when we were in town, there was you know my parents' family, Beth's parents,
Hmm.
uh, your
Like
family,
extended family.
your family,
Yeah,
Ron's family.
yeah,
Jan was always around,
yeah,
and sometimes Diane would show up with her family
yeah. I
from
remember that.
States.
Yeah, I
They'd
remember
come
that.
up the odd time at Christmas time,
Yeah,
and in the summer when they had that cottage up in Windy Lake,
yep.
so they come up for the summer for a few years. They did that.
Was it something that was it something that just happened organically, or was there any other like it's interesting basically that you all growing up as kids decided to live around that's the Sudbury area rather than I think
Not
Jan
all of
was
us did
basically the
that.
one who went to Toronto, who kind of broke from the group, so to speak.
Well, no, Diane did first.
Oh
Diane,
yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
she couldn't wait to get away from Sudbury.
Okay.
She just couldn't wait. She
Small
just
town fever, eh?
soon as she was after, as soon as she was able to, she headed for Montreal and went nursing there and got some more schooling. Met
Yep.
her husband there and never came back.
Okay.
And Jan headed for
For
well, we
Toronto.
started working in Sudbury for IBM, and then they transferred him to Toronto.
Uh-huh.
So he started working down there and spent considerable time with them in the Toronto area. And Ron was in Sudbury. Then he moved to Espanola, so he's a little further away, but not that far.
No. Still
So we
close
were,
enough basically for the get-togethers and that sort of thing.
yeah, we got together fairly often at Christmas time, and
Yeah.
he had a cottage up at Espanola. We'd go up there for a barbecue and pardon me, swim, a sauna, and the rest of the time we just spent time at Windy Lake.
It's a unique I would almost say it's something that's like a unique period in history to have been growing up at that time. Um, because
Well,
now it's not as common anymore for the
no,
extended
it is not.
families. You know,
It is
it's
not like back in the 40s. I guess the boom, the baby boom started in Coppercliff, and then the kids all grew up. And in the 50s and 60s, it was a booming town
yeah,
because there are all kinds of young people there and lots of stuff going on in the public and the high schools. And around town, there was always kids around town doing stuff and events, high school events. We had, I remember, they had operettas that they put on,
yeah,
and I work high school. The shop boys used to build the sets for the operettas, and that was interesting. Just give us time off school, just go up to the Italian club and work on the sets for the operetta. They
yeah.
gave us some plans, what they wanted, and we just get up there and build this stuff. There were 3 or 4 of us did that, and then we just have to try and catch up on our schoolwork when the week was over.
Yeah.
So that was pretty hard to do. Anyway, we managed to get through that. That was we had a lot of fun doing that. That was a good time. So there was all that stuff was going on, and then that whole crew basically left town. They're everywhere. They're all over the world, and I see very few of them anymore. And like people that Beth and I went to school with, they're everywhere. 3 or 4 of them are dead by now.
Yeah.
Uh, and others they're spread out everywhere. There's only 3 or 4 that are still in Copper or in the Sudbury area that I know of, but haven't seen them for years and years.
Yeah.
And especially now, because we're not even in Sudbury.
When you and Beth were dating, did you do any couple stuff with other couples
Well, when we were married, we did.
when you were
Not
married?
eating, we just stuck to ourselves.
Yeah.
We didn't do any other stuff. No, we do. But once we were married, we were doing stuff with other couples, like people that we had from work, people we knew from work,
Yeah.
and some couple of couples that I knew from university. I went back to Laurentian to get a degree.
Yeah.
After I started working, so I took some leaves of absence, went back to Laurentian to get a degree, and met some people there, which
Okay.
we got together with, and we're still friends with after all those years.
Laurentian turned into a big deal. Or it was a big deal when I was growing up. At one point, it got pretty renowned for it had I believe it was a commerce program at one point. And of course, it always had the mining related programs, which it was really
Yes,
good
that's
for.
true. Yes.
And then
Yeah.
I think I remember also it expanded a lot from the point when I was a kid to when I was starting to look at universities.
Oh yeah, they got all kinds of humanities things, and they have a nursing school of nursing there now, and
Yeah,
the science was always a big thing there. I was in the science program,
yeah,
and and of course engineering, the mining engineering
yeah.
became a big deal, and commerce. They had a good business school there. I know
Huh,
a couple of fellows that I went to school with. They graduated from the business school.
yeah, yeah. So you're living in Walden and you've got the 2 kids. Um, what was it like in those days in terms of trying to balance family and career? Was there was there any like basically nowadays, like I work in the government and the government there's discussion about it basically. We talk about in the government in terms of, balancing personal life and work and that sort of thing. Was there an awareness of that kind of thing, or did you have any coworkers who burned themselves out from overworking in that sense?
Uh, I wouldn't think so. No,
No.
I
Okay.
don't recall anybody
Okay.
who got burned out or just said I give up. Lots of people just moved on to different careers.
And were the
But
hours of work reasonable?
that happens everywhere. Well, yeah, 8 to 4,
Yeah,
or 7 to 3, depending when you started. 5 days a week and
that's not
weekends
bad.
off.
No
So,
overtime or any of that sort of thing.
sometimes you had to do overtime, but not
Yeah,
not very often. If they had problems in the plant, like when I was a foreman in the copper reverb there, we'd have breakdowns. Sometimes I had to stay over to keep a crew
yeah.
and get whatever is broken fixed. Uh, didn't happen that often, but sometimes it did.
Okay.
Or they had scheduled shutdowns that you had to stay there until you had your work finished, so they
Hmm.
could start up again. So that wasn't very often that happened. But work came first, and family came second. Like,
Okay.
make sure
Well,
you had your work done, and keep your job, and keep the money flowing in,
if without
and
work,
I mean,
your family's gonna have issues.
well, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
obviously.
so
Yeah.
that was how it worked. So you fit family in around work.
Okay. So what about? Okay. So here's an interesting question. Or I guess this is the way of thinking about it. When you were growing up, you had a mother who was basically at home all the time, looking
Yes.
after the kids, looking after you kids. When you were going out with Beth, she had a career, obviously a career path that she wanted to follow, right? So there would have been some sort of discussion at some point, basically, in terms of whether or not she was basically, you know, um, going to follow her career and how much she was going to follow her career. Like, who's basically, was there a discussion at some point, basically in terms of how the kids were going to be managed, and then the two careers are going to be managed? Because you guys,
Not necessarily. Like
oh,
it just it just progressed in a natural state, you know. And we started having children. She gave up her career for whatever time it took till the
okay,
kids got big enough to look after themselves. Then
okay, so
she
she
went
stayed home
to it.
basically to look after the kids.
Yes,
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Sorry.
yes.
So,
And then she went back to her career for a few years after that,
okay,
and actually went teaching, and then went back and did other stuff after that, which
you
wasn't
guys
so
were on
good.
the cusp basically of that generational shift where now basically you have a lot more basically mothers not staying at home. There are more women not staying at home to look after the kids than there are women who are staying at home to look after the kids. And your
Well, that's
generation, basically your generation was on that tilt, like right on the cusp of that tilt, in that sense.
well, things are much different now, Andre. Like
Oh, easily. I know. I'm not saying they're
cost
not
of
different.
living,
Yeah.
cost of living mandates that you need two incomes now.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you can't exist on one income anymore. Like,
No.
you know,
I mean,
things are just so expensive. It's just ridiculous. So now you got to hire somebody to be a daycare person.
completely.
So what's the use going to work if you got to pay someone to look after the kids? So you know, it's a real trade off. I don't know how people do it in this day and age. I really don't.
I'm seeing in from what I'm following now, it looks like there's actually a tilt going back in the opposite direction where what's happening basically is people are starting to realize that they don't have to have the big house. They don't have to have the two cars. They don't have to have all of that stuff. And if you make certain sacrifices and you decide and you basically just live extremely modestly, that you can actually live off of one income. And there people are starting to see that there was actually some kind of there was a lot of benefits basically to having one parent stay at home basically to raise the children versus dropping them into a daycare and both parents basically working, that sort of thing. Um, I don't know if that's ever going to pick up speed and be like what it used to be, but I do think now that people are starting to realize that life was, again, as you say, it's expensive, but it's doable. It is doable. You just have to really, really, really sacrifice some of
Yeah.
the,
Tell me about sacrifice. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
you know. So I mean, you guys kind of grew, and again, we all sort of grew up in, I guess, the heyday basically of having the choice to do one or the other at one
Yes,
point rather than
absolutely.
having it forced on you.
Yes.
So growing up as a single income, your career path must have been pretty good. I mean, you must have started off, making a modest income and then
Yeah,
buying that house.
it wasn't the best income in the world, but it increased over the years.
Yeah,
And by the time I was ready to retire, it I was doing fairly well. I was keeping ahead of inflation, that's for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then when Beth basically decided to work, that must have been again, the extra money coming in must have been a big help. What year was that?
Oh, oh, gee, I don't know. She came and went between different activities.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The kids were in high school when she was, doing different things, back to teaching, and then she went and did some counseling. She took a counseling program, and then
Hmm.
went counseling with another group in Sudbury.
Yeah.
Uh, I was really not sure what year when the kids were in high school. Anyway, in the
Okay.
sometime in the 80s. I don't know just
Okay.
100% when that was. I was
All right.
busy going to work, Andre.
I get it. I get it.
I was up to my ears in work. Like,
Fair enough. When did you decide to get that cottage on Black Lake?
um, let me see. It's 1977.
Yeah.
We bought that in 1977.
Okay. Was it a fixer upper or did it
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was a
yeah.
fixer upper for sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. and part of the deal with that property was part of the purchase price went into roughing a road into it.
Yeah.
And it was a rough road, let me tell you. Like it
Yeah.
was just a bulldozer went through the mud, and basically that was the road. Like you couldn't drive on it.
Okay.
You had to have a bulldozer to ride on the road. Anyway, over the years, it got better over the years, and by the time we were done with it, it was a pretty good road.
Yeah.
But we piled a lot of money into that thing.
Okay.
So now it's a paved road now. The township took it over.
Okay.
And the year after we sold it, 1998,
98, eh?
1998, we sold it. And township decided they're going to pave it. We had done all the heavy work, blasting and organizing and culverts and ditching and stuff. And we built a real good road. The roads commissioner came and took a look at it, took some samples of the road base, and he said, God, nobody builds roads like this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, we do. A lot of it was clay underneath, so we just piled crushed rock on top of the clay and then put the gravel on top.
Yeah.
Graded it and packed it down, and it really was a good road.
It stuck.
Anyway.
Stayed for a bit.
And then while all that was going on, I was rebuilding the cottage from the ground up.
Yeah.
Like when we first bought it there, you'd go in and you'd close the door behind you and the whole cottage would shake. So it wasn't, it was just sitting there on the rock. Like,
yeah,
I did a lot of work on there to fasten that place down. It was pretty substantial when I got done with it, but I never got to finish it.
No way.
No.
What was the, I remember the black flies out there were huge.
There was lots of black. That's what they call it, Black Lake. Black Fly Lake.
Black Fly Lake, yeah.
There were lots of black flies.
I remember I remember swimming out there with Tim and Chris and making it you had to basically get out of the water to get some air and then go back underwater to keep from getting ambushed by those suckers.
Yes. Yes, eating up with the bugs.
Oh yeah.
Windy Lake used to be like that too.
Yeah, Windy Lake was pretty bad too.
Windy Lake was terrible. That's what after supper we couldn't go out after supper. You just got eaten up. Oh yeah, it was terrible. Just terrible. Anyway.
So I guess you grew up basically with brothers and sisters. Did you find it different basically trying to raise two boys?
Not really.
No?
Really, they were active. They had friends and did all kinds of stuff with the friends.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood, and they had lots of toys. We bought them all kinds of toys, bicycles, and then they had the mini motorbikes.
Oh, I remember the mini motorbikes.
They had a couple of I got from there, went to quads, a couple of small quads.
Yeah.
Used to tear around in the back 40 with those. There was lots of room to roam back there. So that was good for them to do that.
That was another thing I think our generation was on the cusp of. Now kids don't go out as much as they used to when we were little.
Oh, gee, no. Well, they got stuff to do inside the house. You got tablets and iPhones and computers, and we didn't have any of that stuff.
Well, there's also what do I call it? Almost like a prevalent fear. In the sense, basically, like they call it helicopter parenting, where the parents basically all worry too much basically with their kids going out and getting, hurt or whatever and that sort of thing. And I mean, even now you have
they don't have any survival skills anymore. That's the problem.
Well, then basically, and so you've got basically
don't know what danger is.
No, they're not learning risks, how to take risks or how to mitigate risks.
Stay away from they're never taught, stay away from the water,
Yep.
You've got a fast moving stream, stay away from it.
Yep.
You go in there, you're going to drown.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You see it all the time.
Nobody tells them that.
No, our generation, I remember when I was a kid, and again, here's a good question, basically going back to your bicycle. What is the farthest distance you think you've ever gone on your bike as a kid?
My bike, as a kid, I rode to, Bob Harcourt's parents had a cottage on South Bay on Lake Ramsey.
Okay.
And he and I biked out there one time.
Okay, so how many kilometers did you say that was?
Oh, geez. That's all the way out past Laurentian University.
Holy jeez. You did that from Coppercliff?
Yeah.
That's a good 20 clicks.
Oh, at least 20, maybe 30.
30
Yeah,
clicks.
Cliff
Yeah.
down Cliff Road, Lawrence Street,
Yeah.
and get over on Martindale Road and across onto Ramsey Lake Road and up past the university. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
long ways in.
Did your mom and dad know you were going out that far, or did they care? No discussion about
Oh,
it?
no discussion about
As
it.
long as you
Like
got
we
home
were,
by before the lights went out, right?
get home for supper. Just make sure you're home for supper.
Make sure you're home
Like
for supper. I remember that very well. Yeah.
we never had discussions about any of that stuff.
No, and us neither. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember I would bike from our house to downtown Sudbury to go to the arcade with my best buddy.
yeah.
And as soon as the sun started going down, that was the marker. You had to basically hoof it back. And
Well,
then
yeah,
I went on Google Maps later, and it turned out it was only 5 kilometers because we were taking shortcuts
yeah,
to get down there and that sort of thing. But I mean, we had to cross some pretty busy streets
yeah.
back in those days, and it's interesting. Kids don't do that today. Absolutely don't do
No,
that today. Not
no,
at all. You know,
no.
it's interesting. So, and again, when you had your two, Tim and Chris basically going out and doing that stuff, you were busy, obviously working. Did you ever have any? Did you ever have any scares from the two of them?
The two
Like,
of them.
yeah,
I think. Oh, they had a couple of motocross bikes, I guess, after the quads. Had motocross bikes, and the rule was you drive the motocross bike, and nobody else drive it. So
yeah.
anyway, Tim disobeyed that rule, and he and his buddy went up the line, and they I don't know what they did, crashed the bike or something. But anyway, it worked out okay. But I remember somebody came along and said that they had crashed the bike.
Okay.
But anyway, it everything worked out okay
Everything
from that.
was one of them badly hurt?
No,
What was the scare from it then? Exactly. The
well,
bike?
just the news that
Oh,
the
the
bike.
news. Okay. So you got news that there was a crash,
Yes,
nothing else. And of course, being a parent, you're kind of expecting the worst.
well, of course,
And then it turns out they were fine.
yes.
Okay. All right, I get that. Huh. So what was the is Beth talking to you? I could see you. I could hear her.
Oh, she just came down to tell me something from
Okay.
upstairs.
Oh, no worries. I'll tell her I said hi. Um, what was the yes? I'm trying to look for some more questions here, basically. Um, you left, when did you guys move out of Walden?
And 02, 2002, we
2002, eh?
built this house in Barrie and moved out in 2002 in the summer, in August.
In August? Okay. How did you feel about leaving Walden?
I don't know, just a new adventure.
Yeah.
We're closer to the kids by the fact that we're closer to Toronto Airport and can catch a plane
Yeah.
a lot more frequently than trying to get a plane from Sudbury or driving from Sudbury all the way down here and then getting a plane
Okay.
out west. So a lot more convenient just hopping down the road here and
Yeah.
getting on a plane out west.
So did Tim move directly out to where is he? He's in Calgary, isn't he?
Tim's in Calgary.
Yeah. Did he move straight to Calgary or did he bounce around first?
No, he moved straight to Calgary. He went to school there actually, to
Yeah.
Southern Alberta Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
And studied computer science there.
Okay.
So he moved out to do that.
All right. Okay.
Chris moved to Calgary, had several jobs around Calgary with different firms, and then
Yep.
finally got a chance to go to Trail to work for the tech resources there, and
Okay.
he's been there ever since.
What were your thoughts basically on them moving far away like that?
Not terribly happy, but they went where they had to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So most
Oh,
most of
obviously.
Sudbury did that. All their chums did that.
Yep.
So basically, Sudbury didn't have a lot of opportunity for jobs. Inco was declining, Falconbridge was declining, and other than that, there weren't a lot of things going on in Sudbury at that time.
So,
So they where they had to go.
so did you see the decline coming? Like, were you working at
Oh,
that
I could
point?
say that. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
When I started at Inco, there were 22,000 people working for Inco in the Sudbury district.
Mm-hmm.
And when I retired, there were about 4,500.
Jeez.
So yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
decline. Every time there was a cutback, you could feel it.
Yeah.
Your workforce got smaller, and you had to do more and fill in, and yeah, everything shrunk.
Was it a
Like
feeling
a year
basically
after I
that it was a market pressures causing the decline, or was it bad? Was there, or compared to like basically bad business decisions from your standpoint?
Oh, I think it was trying to maximize profits.
Yeah.
Like it was like business decisions. Plus, technology played a big role in the choices they made. Like they became more efficient at mining.
Okay.
Did lot fewer people required to do a lot more stuff.
Okay.
So they could move more product with fewer people.
Okay.
Plus, they looked at some of the plants were getting pretty old, like the copper refinery where I
Mm-hmm.
worked for a while. It was built in 1930, so it was pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
And although they did, some modernization of it, the process was still pretty old. And they eventually decided to tear it down
Yep.
and get out of the copper refining business.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do now is they grind up the ore at Clarabelle Mill, and they separate the copper from the nickel, and they dry the copper concentrate, and they ship it by rail to Quebec. Then they refine it in Quebec, where they got a lot of cheap hydropower,
Yep.
which is what they use to refine copper
Yep.
electrolytically. And so that's what they do. They just tore down the copper refinery, and they tore down the copper reverb where I used to be foreman.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need any of that stuff anymore. And they're still making tons of money, probably making more money because they're not running a plant that is obsolete.
Fair enough. Right.
And of
How did
course,
you find
all the workers that were there are not there anymore.
how did you find keeping up with the technology? Was it something that
It was a continuous process. I don't
okay.
know if it was quick enough or not quick enough, but it was a continuous process. So there was always something going on.
Yeah. Well, you survived and you managed to retire from there. So obviously you managed to stay ahead of whatever the demands were in terms of the changing technologies and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I changed departments a few times. I started out in maintenance, and I ended up in uh, maintenance management for a few years, and then
Yeah.
I joined the construction group and retired from the construction group, where we built, we refurbished various things
Okay.
around the district, and built new projects that Inco was working on.
Hmm.
So that was a continuous thing. There was always something new coming down the pipe.
That's interesting.
So there's
And you
no
managed to stay
shortage.
on top of it on top of that. So
Yeah, well, it took a minute, but we stayed on top of it. Yeah.
yeah. When you were talking to Grandpa, your dad, about that, did you have any discussions basically about the way things used to be versus the way like did you guys ever talk basically about the changes that were going on at Inco?
Mm, Not terribly much, no.
No? So Grandpa didn't have any kind of, I guess, interest in
Well,
basically
he
what was
saw lots
happening.
of change. He saw lots of changes too in his career.
Yeah.
Like the time that he was there 43 years. So lots of things happened when he was there.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else that I can think of in terms of questions. What year did you retire?
1967.
You retired in 67?
1997. I started
97.
in 67. 67 I started. Retired in
Okay.
90.
97, eh? Okay. How did you find retirement?
Pretty busy.
Yeah.
I've been pretty busy I don't know where the time has gone, Andre.
Yeah. How often do you see Tim and Chris, roughly speaking?
Oh, I know Tim. I see a couple times a year. Chris,
Yeah.
maybe once a year or every second year.
Okay.
But we talk to them all the time on the phone, on FaceTime.
Okay.
So basically, we see them every week.
Yeah. With the FaceTime, at least, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
FaceTime. But
what about the
yeah, that works. But
grandkids? How do you find the difference? I mean, obviously, there's a marked difference between how you're growing up with the grandkids versus basically how Grandpa grew up with your kids. What are your thoughts on that? Would you
well, I don't
prefer to
know.
see them
There's a
more?
big difference there. Our kids were physically closer to Coppercliff
Right.
than our grandkids are to us. So everything is done at a distance.
Right.
Like both Tim and Chris, we deal with them at a distance, and the grandkids, we deal with a distance. We talk to them every week on FaceTime,
Hmm.
and they're busy doing their thing. They're all into skiing, and
Hmm.
that's a big part of their life.
Yeah, Chris is out in BC, isn't he?
Chris is in BC. Yeah, he's in
Yeah.
near Trail, BC.
Yeah.
He works in Trail, and they live up the hill in Rossland.
I heard he lives in something like a remote. It's kind of remote where he is, isn't it?
Don't Not that remote.
Not that remote. Okay.
So well, you got to go 10 clicks down the mountain to get to Trail.
Okay.
From his house, you can see Trail down in the valley. So
Yeah.
it's not that remote, and there's a fairly big community. It was a big gold mining area at one point in time.
Yeah.
They were producing, I think, a third of all the gold that was produced in Canada came out of there at one point in time.
Crazy.
So it was
I didn't know that.
a big production at one point in time. Not running right now; the mines are shut down.
Yeah.
But it's lots of skiing going on out there.
Have you guys ever talked about moving out west to get closer to them?
No,
No.
not moving out west.
No.
I like it here.
Okay.
We got rocks and trees and water.
They don't
Out
have that out
there,
west.
well, they got some of that stuff out west, but no,
Yeah.
I don't need to move out there. I'm quite happy here.
That's all right. That's good. I think I've pretty much exhausted all of the questions that I have written down here.
Okay, well, that's pretty good.
That's not bad. That's not bad. 3 sessions, roughly speaking. I had to
Yeah,
get, I don't know if you've noticed, we didn't get interrupted this time. I went and bought
yeah,
the
yeah. What
license
happened?
for this. No, I bought the license for this application, so we
Oh,
wouldn't get
okay.
interrupted, right?
Oh,
So
okay. I was wondering
yeah,
about that. I said, why are we going so long here? Anyway,
yeah, yeah. Anyhow, my goal is to do this again, probably with Diane, and then probably with Jan, and then see what kind of discussions
yeah.
come out of
So
that. So
straighten Jan out. He told me that I was inaccurate when I was talking to you about some stuff, and I told him, Jan, you weren't even born at the top of that stuff. So how do you know I was inaccurate?
yeah.
I think he was just pulling my leg.
Um,
Okay,
I think we could.
grill Jan. See what Jan remembers.
We could. Yeah, that's what we'll do. I'll definitely. I'm gonna put this up on Facebook and or sorry, YouTube rather, and we go from there. I think we're done anyway. I just wanted to thank you again, basically, for having this little conversation and going through this. And if I think of any other stuff, I'll definitely email you, and we can maybe hook up another video.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, what did you think of the process?
It seemed to work okay.
Okay,
You certainly know your way around electronics. I would never be able to work through this.
fair enough. Well, thank you.
Never.
Thank you.
Anyway,
I'm trying to.
works pretty good.
I'm trying to think of any questions that I might have asked that I might have missed. I seem to have caught all your hobbies and stuff. Got to know you a lot better as a result of this. And yeah, at some point I wouldn't mind sitting down with Beth and kind of going through the same process. If she's available. And then we'll go from there. So again, thank you very much for your time,
Okay,
and
Andre.
have yourself a good day.
Okay,
And
and you too.
we'll talk some more down the road.
Down the road. Okay, take care. Have a
You
good
too.
weekend.
You too.
Okay,
Bye.
bye for now.